Hello, and welcome to another episode of Fluent English Journey. I'm really happy you're here today. Whether you're listening on your way to school, work, taking a walk, or relaxing at home, thank you for spending this time with me. In this episode, we are going to talk about something very important, not just for learning English, but also for your life. We are going to talk about self-love. Before you think self-love is only about positive quotes, bubble baths, or buying yourself things, let me explain. It is much deeper than that. Self-love is not just a small act you do sometimes. It is about how you think about yourself, how you talk to yourself, and how you take care of your feelings, even when life is hard. Let's be honest, life can be busy, messy, and stressful. We have school, work, family, and social media all around us. Everyone expects us to be perfect, to succeed, to always be productive, and to look good. In all this pressure, it's easy to forget to ask yourself, how am I really doing, or am I being kind to myself? This is where self-love becomes important. Self-love is not selfish. It does not mean thinking you are better than others. It means understanding your value, even when you make mistakes. It means knowing that you don't need to be perfect to be worthy. Most importantly, it is about treating yourself like someone you care about deeply. You might be wondering, why are we talking about this in an English podcast? Well, here at Fluent English Journey, I don't just want to help you improve your vocabulary and listening skills. I also want to help you build confidence, not just in English, but in the way you think, speak, and live. This episode is not only about learning English, it is also about learning how to be kind to yourself. It is about learning how to speak to yourself with care, just like you would speak to a close friend. During this episode, I will use natural, everyday English, the way people really speak. I will also ask some reflective questions for you to think about. You might want to pause sometimes, take notes, or write in a journal. That's completely okay. The goal is not to finish fast. The goal is to grow in language and in life. So take a deep breath, relax, and let's begin. What is self-love and what it is not? So, what exactly is self-love? Many people hear this word, but it can be confusing. Some people feel uncomfortable with it. Maybe you learned that loving yourself is selfish or that you should always put others first. Let's look at it clearly. Self-love simply means treating yourself with kindness, care, and respect, the same way you would treat someone you truly care about. It means understanding that you are human, that you make mistakes, and that's okay. It means knowing your worth, not because of your job, your looks, your achievements, or social media followers, but because you are already enough, just as you are. Now, let's talk about what self-love is not. Some people think self-love means being arrogant, selfish, or self-centered. But this is not true. Self-love is not thinking you are better than others. It is not about ignoring people around you. Real self-love is gentle, understanding, and caring for yourself and for others. But that's not true. Self-love is not about thinking you are better than other people. It's not about ignoring others or always putting yourself first in a selfish way. It's also not about saying, I'm perfect and I don't need to change. In fact, true self-love often means being honest with yourself. It means noticing your flaws and still being kind to yourself while working on them. Think of it like this. Imagine you are on an airplane. Before the plane takes off, the flight attendant gives an important instruction. In case of emergency, put on your own oxygen mask first before helping others. Why? Because if you don't take care of yourself first, you won't have the energy or ability to help anyone else. That is what self-love is like. It's about giving yourself what you need so that you can live well, love others fully, and handle life's challenges. Another misunderstanding is that self-love means feeling good all the time. Some people think it means always being happy or perfect. But that is not true. Real self-love is not about ignoring your problems or pretending everything is okay. It's about accepting all of yourself, your strengths, your struggles, and everything in between. It's about being able to say, yes, I struggle with this, or yes, I am still learning, without hating yourself. Instead, you face those struggles with patience and compassion. Here's another way to imagine it. Your mind is like a garden. If you never water the plants, only complain about the weeds, or speak negatively to the soil, nothing beautiful will grow. But if you water it, give sunlight, pull out weeds gently, and encourage the small flowers, your garden will flourish. Self-love works the same way. Some people also confuse self-love with luxury or material comfort. Yes, doing nice things for yourself, like taking a relaxing bath or buying something small you enjoy, can be part of it. But the deeper part is emotional. It's about how you speak to yourself when you fail. It's about allowing yourself to rest when tired. It's about not comparing yourself to others and understanding that your journey is unique. And here's the key. Self-love is not a one-time event. It's not something you do once and forget. It's a daily practice, like brushing your teeth or drinking water. It's in the small choices you make every day, how you react to mistakes, how you treat your body, how you talk to yourself when no one else is around. Those small moments build your relationship with yourself more than any big action ever could. So remember, self-love is not a luxury, it's a foundation. Just like a house needs a strong base to stand tall, we need inner support to live a healthy, meaningful life. And if that feels hard right now, that's okay. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to start. Let me ask you, when was the last time you were truly kind to yourself, not because you earned it, but simply because you exist? Think about that for a moment. That is where self-love begins. Why self-love feels hard sometimes. Even though self-love is so important, it can still feel really hard to practice. Why is that? Most people want to feel good about themselves. They want confidence, peace, and kindness inside. But something often gets in the way. Usually, it's not just one thing. It's a mix of thoughts, habits, and life experiences that make self-love feel difficult, sometimes even impossible. One of the biggest reasons self-love feels hard is self-doubt. That little voice inside your head, the one that says, "You're not good enough," or "You always mess things up," is something many of us know. Maybe you've heard it once. Maybe you hear it every day. It's quiet, but it's powerful. It tells you to stay small. It tells you not to try. And over time, that voice becomes familiar, like background music in your mind. But just because it's familiar doesn't mean it's true. Self-doubt often comes from fear of failing, fear of being judged, or even fear of success. Along with self-doubt comes negative self-talk. These are the thoughts we repeat to ourselves without even noticing sometimes. You might think things like, "I'm not smart enough. I'll never be fluent in English. I'm too old to change." Have you ever said things like that to yourself? Probably yes. But would you ever say those things to a friend? Most likely not. And yet, we often say them to ourselves. Negative self-talk is like planting weeds in your mind. The more you repeat it, the stronger it grows. And the stronger it grows, the harder it becomes to believe anything positive about yourself. Another reason self-love can feel so difficult is past experiences. Maybe someone in your life, a parent, teacher, or partner, made you feel unworthy. Maybe they criticized you often or expected too much. Maybe they told you that you had to earn love by being perfect or always putting others first. Even if that person is no longer in your life, their voice can still live inside your head. This emotional baggage can stay for years, shaping how we see ourselves without even realizing it. And then there's society, the outside world. We live in a culture that constantly tells us we're not enough. Advertisements show the perfect body. Social media shows the perfect life. Success is measured in money, status, or likes. If we don't match those images, it's easy to start believing we are failing somehow. But have you ever stopped to ask yourself, who made these rules? Why do I feel like I always have to prove something? These cultural messages are powerful, but they aren't always healthy. They create a silent pressure that makes it very hard to feel okay with who we are. Let me ask you another question. Have you ever felt guilty for taking a break? Maybe you wanted to rest, but that voice in your head said, you should be doing something useful. Or maybe you did something kind for yourself, like saying no to someone, and then felt bad afterward. That guilt doesn't come from nowhere. It often comes from the belief that we must always be productive, always helpful, and never put ourselves first. But here's the truth. Rest is not lazy. Setting boundaries is not rude. These are acts of self-respect. And self-respect is a big part of self-love. It's also important to understand that many of us were never taught self-love growing up. In many families and cultures, the focus is on discipline, responsibility, and sacrifice. Loving yourself was not always part of the lesson. And that's okay. We can learn it now. And while values like hard work, strength, and caring for others are important, they often leave no room for softness or self-compassion. Maybe you learned how to work hard, how to stay strong, and how to care for others, but no one showed you how to care for yourself. So now, when you try to practice self-love, it can feel unfamiliar and even uncomfortable. And that's okay. Just like learning a new language, it takes time and patience. The good news is this: just because self-love feels hard, doesn't mean it's impossible. Difficult doesn't mean wrong, it just means it's new and maybe a little scary. Growth always starts with awareness. When you start noticing the self-doubt, the negative self-talk, and the pressure to be perfect, that's the first step. Because once you are aware of these things, you can start to challenge them. You can start to choose a different way of thinking. The next time you catch yourself being hard on yourself, ask, would I say this to someone I love? If the answer is no, then you already know what to do. It's time to change the message. It's time to be on your own side. Let's keep going, because even though this journey isn't easy, it's one of the most important ones you'll ever take, both for your language learning and your life. The inner critic versus inner coach. Now, let's talk about something we all experience, even if we don't always realize it: the voice inside our head. Sometimes this voice helps us stay focused and motivated, but other times it becomes our worst enemy. We call this voice the inner critic, and it can be one of the biggest barriers to self-love. The inner critic is that little voice that says things like, "You're not good enough. You always mess things up. Why even try? You'll just fail again." It often appears when we feel nervous, make a mistake, or compare ourselves to others. The more we listen to it, the more power it gains. The inner critic can sound logical and convincing, but what it really does is tear us down. It focuses only on our weaknesses, reminds us of every failure, and sometimes repeats things we heard from others in the past. Maybe a teacher who said we weren't smart enough, or a parent who told us to always be better. Here's an example. Imagine you try speaking English in front of a group for the first time. You make a few mistakes. Your inner critic might say, "See, you sounded stupid. Everyone was judging you. You should have just stayed quiet." That kind of message can make you feel embarrassed or even want to give up. But is it helpful? Does it help you grow? Usually no. Now, imagine a different voice, the inner coach. This voice doesn't pretend everything is perfect. It doesn't lie or ignore problems. But it speaks with kindness, honesty, and support. Your inner coach might say, "Okay, you made a few mistakes, but that's normal. You were brave to try. You're learning, and next time it will be better." This voice encourages you to keep going, even when things are hard. It focuses on progress, not perfection. The difference between the inner critic and the inner coach is huge. One holds you back. One helps you move forward. One is built on fear. One is built on self-respect and care. The truth is, both voices exist in all of us, but we get to choose which one to listen to more often. Let me share a personal story. A few years ago, I started creating podcast episodes like this one. At first, I felt really unsure of myself. My inner critic kept saying, "Your voice doesn't sound good enough. Your English isn't perfect. Who's even going to listen?" It made me feel like giving up. But then I reminded myself to listen to my inner coach. That voice said, "You're doing this to help people. You're learning as you go. Mistakes are normal. Keep going." That small shift in voice made all the difference. You're not perfect, and that's okay. What matters is that you are improving, and someone out there needs to hear your message. That small shift in mindset helped me keep going. And here I am, still learning, still growing, and still showing up. You don't have to get rid of your inner critic completely. That might not even be possible. But you can learn to recognize it and choose not to believe everything it says. When that harsh voice shows up, pause and ask yourself, is this voice helping me or hurting me? If it's hurting you, it's time to turn the volume down on your critic and turn up the voice of your inner coach instead. Point one way to strengthen your inner coach is to speak to yourself like you would speak to a close friend. Imagine someone you care about is facing the same challenge. What would you say to them? Would you call them a failure, or would you remind them of their effort, progress, and courage? Most likely, you'd offer support. So why not offer that same support to yourself? Changing the way you talk to yourself takes practice. It doesn't happen overnight, but with time and consistency, your inner coach can become louder, stronger, and more natural. And when that happens, self-love becomes easier because you're no longer fighting yourself, you're standing with yourself. The next time you feel afraid, embarrassed, or like you're not enough, pause and ask, who's speaking right now? My critic or my coach? Then choose the voice that moves you forward, not the one that keeps you stuck. Small acts of self-love, what it looks like day to day. Self-love can sometimes sound like a big, abstract idea, something emotional, deep, or hard to understand. But the truth is, self-love shows up in small moments. It's not just something you feel, it's something you do. Most of the time, it doesn't look dramatic or special. It looks simple and personal. It shows up in the small decisions you make every day that say, I matter too. One of the most powerful examples is saying no. For many of us, especially those who want to be kind and helpful, saying no can feel uncomfortable. We don't want to disappoint others or seem rude or selfish. But sometimes, saying no is the most loving thing you can do for yourself and for others. For example, if you're exhausted after a long week and a friend invites you out, it's okay to say, I'd love to see you, but I really need to rest tonight. That one sentence protects your energy, your peace, and your health. Another important act of self-love is resting without guilt. Many of us feel like we always have to be doing something. We feel guilty for sitting still or taking a break. But you are not a machine, you are a human being. And humans need rest. Taking a nap, going for a quiet walk, or simply sitting in silence for a few minutes isn't lazy, it's necessary. Think about it. When your phone battery is low, you charge it. Your mind and body need the same care. Giving yourself rest is a way of saying, I respect my limits. Setting boundaries. Setting boundaries is another important part of self-love. A boundary is simply a line that protects your time, space, or emotions. For example, maybe someone at work always interrupts your lunch break and it makes you feel stressed. A healthy boundary might be, I'm happy to help, but I need to take my full break today to recharge. Boundaries aren't about being mean, they're about being clear. They show others how you want to be treated and remind you to protect your own well-being. Self-love can also show up as being proud of your progress, even when it feels small. Maybe you've been working on your English, and today you understood a full podcast without pausing. That's a win. Maybe you spoke up in a meeting or finally started that project you were nervous about. These little victories matter. Many of us skip over them because they don't seem big enough. But progress is progress, and self-love means celebrating it, even if no one else notices. Self-love also includes small daily actions, preparing a healthy meal for yourself, going to bed on time, drinking enough water, or taking a break from social media when it starts to make you feel bad about your life. These aren't fancy or expensive things, they are simple, everyday choices that say, I care about myself. Over time, these small choices build a stronger, more loving relationship with yourself. Don't forget about the way you talk to yourself, even when no one else is listening. Using kind, supportive words like, I'm doing my best, it's okay to make mistakes, I'm learning, is a powerful form of self-love. You don't even need to say it out loud. Hearing it in your mind can shift your mood and attitude in big ways. Now, I want you to pause and ask yourself, what is one thing I could do today to take care of myself? Not just physically, but emotionally. Maybe it's turning off your phone an hour early tonight. Maybe it's finally starting that book you've wanted to read. Maybe it's taking 5 deep breaths in a quiet room. Whatever it is, choose something small and kind. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be real. Remember, self-love doesn't grow from one big action. It grows from small, consistent acts repeated over time. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes. With each act, you remind yourself of something powerful. I am worth care. I am worth kindness. I am worth love. Keep moving forward, step by step. You're already doing something good just by being here, listening, and learning how to take better care of yourself. The role of mindset and consistency. So far, we've talked about what self-love is and how to practice it in small ways. Now, let's go deeper and look at something very important, your mindset. Your mindset is the way you think about yourself, your abilities, and your life. It's the mental lens you use to see the world and your place in it. Believe it or not, your mindset has a huge effect on how easy or hard it is to love yourself. Psychologists often talk about 2 types of mindset, the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. If you have a fixed mindset, you believe your qualities, like intelligence, talent, or personality, are fixed and cannot change. Someone with a fixed mindset might say, I'm just bad at languages. I always fail at relationships. That's just who I am. This way of thinking makes self-love very difficult. Why? Because if you believe you can't grow or improve, every mistake feels like proof that you're not good enough. You judge yourself instead of helping yourself. On the other hand, if you have a growth mindset, you believe you can learn, improve, and get better over time, even if it takes effort. You don't see failure as the end of the story. You see it as a lesson, part of the process. Someone with a growth mindset might say, I didn't do well this time, but I can learn and improve. This is hard, but I'm getting stronger every day. A growth mindset doesn't ignore problems, but it allows room for compassion and change. When you believe you can grow, you're more likely to treat yourself with patience and respect, and that is the foundation of self-love. So, let me ask you, when you make a mistake, what do you usually say to yourself? Do you think, I'm hopeless, or do you think, I'll try again? Your answer says a lot about your mindset and how much space you give yourself to grow with love instead of judgment. Consistency, a key part of self-love. Another important part of self-love is consistency. Many people give up on self-care or personal growth because they think they're not doing it right or perfectly. But here's the truth. You don't need to be perfect, you just need to keep going. Consistency means doing something regularly, even if you're not perfect at it. It means showing up for yourself again and again, not just on the good days, but also on the hard days. Here's a simple example. Imagine you decide to speak English for 10 minutes every day. Some days you feel confident and do well. Other days, you feel tired or unmotivated. Maybe you even skip a day. A perfectionist mindset might say, see, you failed. Just give up. A consistent, self-loving mindset would say, okay, I missed a day. That's fine. I'll try again tomorrow. See the difference? One mindset gives up, the other keeps going gently, patiently, and with love. This brings us to a phrase you should always remember. progress, not perfection. It means it's more important to keep moving forward, even slowly, than to try to be perfect all the time. In fact, perfection doesn't really exist. It's just an idea, not a reality. If you're always chasing perfection, you'll always feel like you're failing. But if you focus on progress, you'll start to see your growth and feel proud of your journey, not just the results. Self-love grows when we show up for ourselves over and over again, not only when life is easy, but especially in the messy, quiet, or hard moments. You don't have to get it right every time, you just have to stay with it. So think about your mindset. Do you allow yourself room to grow, or do you judge yourself every time you make a mistake? And what small thing could you do regularly, even once a week, to support your own progress? Maybe it's journaling. Maybe it's taking quiet time. Maybe it's continuing to listen to this podcast as part of your personal growth. Whatever it is, remember, progress, not perfection. That's how we grow, how we change, and how we learn to love ourselves one step, one choice, and one kind word at a time. Self-love in hard times. Life isn't always easy. We all go through hard times. Maybe we fail at something we really care about. Maybe someone we love hurts us. Or maybe we just feel lost, tired, or stuck. In those moments, it's often hardest to be kind to ourselves. But this is exactly when self-love matters most. It's easy to be nice to yourself when everything is going well, but what about when everything feels like it's falling apart? Let's be honest, when things go wrong, many of us hear a loud, harsh voice in our heads saying, "You messed up. You're such a failure. Why can't you just be better?" That's our inner critic at work. And when we're already hurting, that voice makes it worse. Imagine falling down, and then someone kicks you while you're on the ground. That's often what we do to ourselves emotionally. We beat ourselves up instead of helping ourselves heal. But self-love during hard times is about doing the opposite of criticism. It means choosing compassion instead of beating yourself up. It means saying to yourself, "Okay, this is hard, but I'm doing my best. It's normal to make mistakes. I'm human." Think about it this way. If your best friend was struggling, would you yell at them and call them weak? Of course not. You'd probably say, "I'm here for you. It's okay. You'll get through this." So why don't we talk to ourselves that way? Have you ever noticed that some people seem stronger after a failure or setback? It's not because they never feel bad. It's because they don't stay in the pain forever. They allow themselves to feel it, cry, rest, reflect, and then slowly get up again. That's real strength. And it starts with being gentle with yourself, especially when life doesn't go as planned. Let me share a short story. A few years ago, I applied for a job I really wanted. I worked hard on my application, went through several interviews, and truly believed I was the perfect fit. But in the end, they chose someone else. I was crushed. For days, I kept thinking, maybe I'm just not good enough, or what if I never succeed? It was painful. But then a small part of me whispered, maybe this wasn't the right job. Maybe something better is waiting. I decided to take a break, talk to a friend, and go for walks to clear my mind. A few weeks later, another opportunity came, and it turned out to be even better than the first one. Looking back, I'm grateful I didn't give up on myself. I just needed time, patience, and a little kindness. Here's something to think about. What do you usually say to yourself when things don't go as planned? Do you treat yourself with care, or are you hard on yourself? It's important to notice these moments because every difficult experience is also a chance to grow, learn, and practice self-love in real life. Sometimes people think self-love means ignoring your problems or pretending everything is okay. But that's not true. Self-love isn't about avoiding pain. It's about staying with yourself through the pain. It's about not abandoning yourself when you need support the most. Remember, setbacks are a natural part of life. Nobody succeeds all the time. Everyone has doubts, makes mistakes, and feels disappointed now and then. What makes the difference is how we respond. Will we be cruel to ourselves, or will we choose to stand by ourselves with courage and compassion? The next time you feel like you've failed, try this. Pause, take a deep breath, and say something kind to yourself. Maybe something like, "This hurts, but it's not the end. I'm allowed to feel this way, and I'll take care of myself through it." These small acts of self-love can give you the strength to keep moving forward, even when the road is rough. So don't wait for life to be perfect to love yourself. Practice loving yourself, especially when it's messy, when you're struggling, or when you feel like giving up, because that's when it counts the most. How to practice more self-love. Now that we've talked about what self-love is and why it matters, you might be wondering, how can I start practicing it in my daily life? The good news is, you don't need to make big or dramatic changes. You can start with small, simple steps. Remember, self-love is not a place you arrive at one day and stay forever. It's a practice, something you choose to do again and again, especially when life gets tough. If you want, I can take all your sections so far and create one complete, flowing, simplified podcast script. It will cover what self-love is and isn't, the inner critic versus inner coach, small daily acts of self-love, mindset and consistency, self-love in hard times, how to practice it every day. It would be long, simple, and ready to use as a full episode. One of the first and most powerful ways to practice self-love is to become aware of your inner voice. Start noticing how you talk to yourself. Are you being kind, or are you being too critical? Many people are surprised when they realize how negative their self-talk can be. So here's a simple exercise. The next time you make a mistake, pause and ask yourself, would I speak to a friend this way? If the answer is no, then it's time to change that voice. Speak to yourself with the same kindness, care, and respect you would give to someone you love. That small change is a powerful act of self-love. Another helpful step is journaling. Writing in a journal can help you process your thoughts, understand your feelings, and recognize your strengths. You don't need to be a great writer. Just be honest. For example, you can write about what went well in your day, what you're proud of, what you're struggling with. Even writing 1 or 2 sentences each day can make a difference over time. Journaling gives your emotions space and helps you see yourself more clearly and kindly. Creating space for rest is also very important. We live in a world that celebrates busyness and productivity. But your worth is not measured by how much you do. Rest is not lazy, it's necessary. When you give yourself permission to rest, whether that's sleeping well, taking breaks, going for a walk, or simply sitting quietly, you are saying, I matter. My well-being is important. That is self-love in action. Another simple practice is learning to say no. Many of us feel pressure to say yes to everything, helping others, working late, attending every event. But always saying yes can leave us feeling tired, stressed, or even resentful. Learning to say no is a way of protecting your time and energy. It doesn't mean you don't care about others. It means you also care about yourself. That balance is healthy and necessary. You can also try something as simple as placing your hand on your heart and taking a deep breath. This small action reminds your body and mind that you are safe and supported. It may sound simple, but it's a powerful grounding practice, especially in stressful moments. And don't forget about gratitude. Take a few seconds every day to notice something good, something you're thankful for. It could be your health, a kind message from a friend, the taste of your favorite food, the quiet of the early morning. Gratitude helps shift your focus from what's wrong to what's right. That shift is a form of self-love too. You don't have to do all of these things at once. Start with one small action. Choose what feels easiest or most natural for you, and then keep going. Self-love isn't about being perfect. It's about being present, being real, and being gentle with yourself, even when things aren't perfect. Remember, this journey takes time. Be patient. Be consistent. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are learning. You are growing. And that in itself is a beautiful act of love. So ask yourself, what's one small thing you can do today to be kind to yourself? That one step is more than enough to begin. As we come to the end of this episode, let's take a moment to reflect on everything we've talked about today. We've explored what self-love really means, and I hope you see that self-love isn't about being perfect or never making mistakes. It's not about having everything figured out or always feeling happy with yourself. Instead, self-love is about being real. It's about accepting yourself with kindness, especially when life is difficult. It's about standing by yourself, not only when things are easy, but also when things are messy and complicated. Remember, self-love is a journey, not a destination. It's something you practice again and again, like learning a language or playing a musical instrument. Sometimes you'll feel strong and confident, and other times you might feel tired or doubtful. Both are okay. What matters is that you keep showing up for yourself, little by little. Before we finish, I want to leave you with a small challenge for this week. Notice your inner voice. When you catch yourself being critical or hard on yourself, pause and ask, is this voice helping me? Is it hurting me? Then try to say something kind or supportive instead. It could be as simple as, I'm doing my best. It's okay to make mistakes. Try this for just a few days and notice how it changes the way you feel. Sometimes, the smallest change in how we speak to ourselves can make a big difference in our mood and confidence. If you found this episode helpful or interesting, I'd be so grateful if you could share it with a friend or someone who might benefit from it. Talking about self-love and kindness helps us all feel less alone. And if you have any thoughts or experiences you want to share, please leave a comment or message. I love hearing from you, and your story might inspire someone else. Thank you so much for spending this time with me here on Fluent English Journey. I hope you feel a little lighter, stronger, and more ready to treat yourself with the care you deserve. Remember, you are enough right now, just as you are. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. Take good care of yourself. Keep practicing kindness, patience, and love, starting with the person you see in the mirror every day. I'll be here with you on this journey, and I can't wait to share more episodes with you soon. Until next time, stay well and be gentle with yourself.